What's up, filmmakers, producers, and hunters? This is your host, Jorden Suzwitz, and you are listening to the Film the Hunt podcast, brought to you by Bedford Camera and Video. Film the Hunt is your leader in outdoor video education and is designed by Tom Petry and Nick Ventura of Become One.
I think we've designed this curriculum so that we can provide the training to help you develop an eye.
I think one of the best things about cinematography is like when people break rules and it works.
It's tough to film a hunt.
Yeah.
You really have to want to do it.
Yeah.
And to turn that into a story is a very tough thing.
One of the best decisions I've ever made because it changed my life.
Matt. Oh my gosh, dude, that footage is going to be insane.
Jason Matzinger, welcome to the Film the Hunt podcast.
I appreciate it. I've been waiting for this invite. I'm surprised I'm guest like 87 on the list.
Where can you buy that, you think?
Bedford Camera and Video. I've talked about it enough on the podcast. I think people have figured that out. What is up? It is just a crazy time. Someone sent me a message and the other day on Instagram, they're like, because it takes me forever to get back to anyone. It's like my time frame now it used to be like 72 hours. Now it's like a week. If I don't respond to you within a week, then maybe check on me, see if I'm alive. But he had sent in, he's like, man, I know you boys are grinding right now because elk season's coming up. But it is good to be 6 feet above ground. And Tommy, it is always good to see you, my friend. I know we're going to spend a lot of time together and I'm looking forward to it. I know our significant others will miss us, but man, I'm really looking forward to our time together. So welcome back to the Film Hunt podcast. I appreciate our conversations, and I know the listeners appreciate them too, because we don't hide anything and we tell them what we think.
Yeah, man. I mean, hey, what better way to learn, right? You don't learn from someone dancing around subjects, that's for sure. But
yeah,
hey, I've got something for you. And it kind of falls right in line. I was going to read this to you regardless, or send it to you regardless of this podcast or not this morning. But since we're on it, I'm just going to read it right on the podcast. It's actually something that I believe to be this individual's words. It doesn't look like one of those copy and paste deals. This is just a friend of mine on social. It's a friend of mine, but he posted this on social media. It's not a social media friend. You got to clarify it nowadays, So, but I think this fall, dude, so we've had conversations, you, myself, Nick, about what we're going through right now, not just the month of August, all of the summer, and how we truly do earn that time we spend, like that picture behind over your left shoulder, with the camera. Yeah. The time that we get to spend there is earned. And, we're business owners. People think that what we do for a living, often, not all, they think, oh, you hunt for a living, you're so lucky, it must be nice and all this stuff. And, we are lucky, we're fortunate. But that doesn't mean it's not earned, every bit of it, right? The right. Living that we make, the day-to-day routine, it's not much different than anybody else's job. And I think until you start to do this truthfully, to earn a living, you won't understand that. But anyway, let me read this real quick, because I think it's really cool and it goes right in line with what we're talking about here. It says, the next time you say, damn, must be nice to someone, you might want to understand the lifestyle that made that possible. 8 to 5 didn't make it. Parking on the couch to watch TV didn't make it. Sleeping in on Saturdays didn't make it. Calling in when you're sick didn't make it. Being content with where you're at didn't make it. It came from 15 to 20-hour days. It came from beating the sun up. It came from working on weekends. It came from sacrificing family time. It came from wanting a little bit better tomorrow. These are just a few of the things to consider before you throw out, damn, must be nice to someone. We are all products of our competence. And extra efforts are what make the biggest differences at the end of the day. Hashtag stay hungry.
That's goosebumps, my friend.
So yeah. I mean, hey, and that goes for anything out there, whether you're doing what we do for a living, or you own a company building homes or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You're not going to be your own success unless you go above and beyond and you work your damn ass clean off, period.
Well, that's probably why you and I don't have any asses, because it just worked right off.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
That or you're just getting
anyway,
older.
Well, there's that too, right? You start shrinking, there's a lot of things that happen. No, hey, we're still young. We're still young enough to go climb that mountain here in a couple of weeks, man. And I'm back at you. I'm excited to take these trips and be there right alongside you. And we're going to be with Blake and a couple of guys here, kick it off, and then Nick will be joining us in Montana with Frenchie.
Oh yeah.
And so we've got some really cool adventures ahead of us, man. And I'm excited. I'm excited for some of the podcasts that we'll lay down, because we'll certainly be laying down podcasts as we go, like we did last year. They were some of our more successful ones, weren't they?
Yeah.
Keeping people up to date on our hunts, man.
That's right. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm super excited to have Blake in a Western camp with us. Usually he's in the whitetail camp with us. So it'd be fun to have him in the wall tent. Yeah. It's always fun to have him there. And, we'd mentioned on our podcast before, Butch, Greg Bauer is going to be, we're breaking his virginity, the Western experience. So it's going to be fun to see his excitement. And so just really, really, it's going to be a good time, man.
Right. No, it is. I'm excited. Blake asked me yesterday, I was on the phone with him. Blake's like, hey, he's like, this Butch guy, he said, is he an elk hunter? Is he a pretty good elk hunter or whatever? I'm like, no, I don't think, in fact, I don't think he's ever been out West. And he's like, oh, okay, sweet. And I was like, oh, what do you mean sweet? He's like, well, then he won't know how good or bad of a caller I am. I could sound like a dying cow, and he's going to be pretty good. You're Blake from Badlands. You must be awesome.
That's right. That's right. That's what they sound like. All right, cool.
Yeah. And disclaimer, Blake, I promise that what I meant there is you're just amazing.
That's
and
right.
That, you're going to knock Butch's socks off.
That's right.
Shoot. No, man, looking forward to it. But in light of that, you brought this idea up, so I'll let you introduce it, but I think it's a great idea to kick off the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we are in that stretch now where we have to mentally start preparing. And through your experience and my little bit of experience now doing this and seeing the post-production side of things, and then also being in the field and kind of what happens, some things, I have some pet peeves, and there's been a lot of things I see that are really positive. So I thought, man, if we can talk about some of the things that stand out a little bit, that can help increase the quality of production, I think it is awesome. I know I got 5 things that I rattled off. I know you have 5 things as well too. And then
the pet peeve for easy.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, go ahead, Jorden.
But then obviously, we'll wrap it up with a lot of positives that we also see too. So, for me, I'll kick it off first, Tom. One of my biggest pet peeves for me is low audio. And I know you have something that's going to be similar to this, but for me, I'm a prime example of this. I'm my own pet peeve for myself. And it's, yes, I had my headphones on, but I was looking at my audio meters incorrectly. My headphone volume was super loud, but my audio was recording super low. So when Tom and Nick got back to post-production, they're like, dude, audio is super, super low. And when you have low audio, you obviously have to gain it in post-production. So that just accumulates a bunch of white noise. And white noise can be relatively hard to get rid of. So is that Briella?
Yeah, it is Briella.
Good morning, Briella.
Daddy's got to finish this, okay? Daddy's got to finish this podcast, and then I can come see. You got to give me some time.
When you're done, the baby bird looks like he's ready for food.
Okay, sounds good. Deal.
I'm kind of waiting for mine to come in the door too.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to working at home, right?
That's right.
But mostly pros. But anyway, yeah.
So
Jorden, yeah, go ahead, finish up because I can comment on that as well.
Yeah, so making sure your audio meters are on the back of your screen or in a place so you can watch them. Obviously, they have a mark on them. It's usually right around -6 dBs. That's kind of where you want your audio hitting. Maybe just below, because you got to remember when you're hunting, a lot of times your hunter is whispering. So you're recording that audio and trying to measure it to about that -6 dB roughly. And if he shoots a bull like Nick did last year and gets super, super excited, man, his audio is going to peak real fast because that audio level has changed. So if you have like the Sony A7S, they have that, was it the K2M that you can put on there, and it also had where you can put them in audio or auto, excuse me. So it has like a hard limiter so it doesn't peak out. But for our setup with the R6, we have the beach tech, so it's all manual. So I had to react real quickly to knock Nick's audio down to get it to a point where it wasn't peaking out. And it can be hard in times like that because the situation is super dramatic. Like it's intense. So you got to enjoy the moment. You got to produce in a moment, and you got to be quick on your feet.
And I think that comes down to, we always talk about knowing your equipment. I think that knowing your equipment, being able to run your equipment with your eyes closed is so important for so many things. And this being one of them, Jorden, I know you know my 5, but that's perfect segue into my number one pet peeve is those that don't wear headphones. And I know we've even talked about this on the podcast at times when I see somebody don't wear headphones, I just kind of just snap almost, because it's like you have to wear headphones to be able to monitor audio correctly. Yeah. You're not gonna know whether or not you even have audio at times. Number one, the audio meters, yes, but your headphones are your constant reminder that, okay, I'm capturing audio. All right. Also the interference, whether it's just general interference or a loose cable, and you've got some breaking up, you're losing the individual for whatever reason. Without headphones, you will not know those two things. Yeah. Having said that, play off of what Jorden said, you're not going to judge your levels by the headphones because you have two different volumes here. You have the audio recording levels, and then you have the volume of the headphone level, the levels of the volume for the headphones. Two totally different things. You may have the volume cranked all the way up on the headphones, think he's loud, but his levels are bouncing at like -21. Okay, so you got to understand you need to watch audio meters to judge your levels for your audio, but you need to have those headphones on or earbuds in. I don't care what you use, but by gosh, use them. You must use them. And don't be the ones that, I'm just going to put them in for the kill, or I'm just going to put them in for the interview. No, and no again. You need to wear them virtually all the time. Yep.
I know for me.
And if you think I'm wrong, go ahead and challenge me. I guarantee you're going to have more audio mess ups than we will out in the field, right, Jorden?
That's right.
We're sticklers about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And besides monitoring your audio, when it gets cold in December or late November, having those headphones on your ears, for me, I'm not a winter hat kind of guy. I like to wear the ball cap because I just never have been. So like that keeps your ears warm at the same time. So
right.
Audio is king in production. And if you're not monitoring it, you're not going to have the best production. Right.
It's hard enough. It's hard enough to get quality audio just in the gear and all the little issues, the little things that can go wrong. It's hard enough to make it good. If you're not monitoring it both by visual and understanding the levels and wearing headphones, then you're basically just cheating yourself. You're making it something that's already difficult even harder. So great first one.
Yeah, that's
I'll bounce into my number 2. Yeah. Unless you got something that's going to play off of that, something more.
No. I like where you're going. I think your number 2 is going to be a good segue for mine.
Number 2 for me, and I'll say that these aren't necessarily in order, but they are. I mean, a top 5 pet peeve is pretty difficult because I've got a bunch of them to be honest. But this one, not holding a shot. And we teach this in our classes, but what does this mean? Let's say you're shooting just a general area reference or B-roll shot. Let's say it's, you're trying to shoot, you're sitting in a tree stand all day and there's a squirrel coming up and he's, about eye level in a tree and you're just trying to shoot that squirrel. I see time and time and time again that someone will get framed up on that squirrel, pull focus, and then almost instantly, within 2 to 3 seconds, they're changing that framing again, whether they're zooming back out or zooming in a little tighter, or maybe moving left or moving right again. They're never trusting their framing. They're never trusting the shot that they've composed and just leaving it alone for 5 or 10 seconds. And that becomes so important. I don't care if you're shooting a wide area reference shot. Maybe it's a landscape of a mountain and a hillside and a valley, on a tripod, off a tripod. Find a composition and let it be for 5 or 10 seconds, not 1 or 2 or 2 or 3, because 2 or 3 seconds is not long enough for an effective shot in an edit or in a video. It's just not long enough for many, many reasons that we can't get into today. So whether or not you love your composition, set it up and shoot that and hold that shot for some time. Please. And then move on. Yeah. And that's not just B-roll or area reference. You could be shooting in somebody, let's say, me and Nick hop out of the truck and we're going to meet the guy that we're going to be hunting with for the week and yada, yada. Jorden and whoever else is with him hops out of the truck with their cameras and they're in our faces and they're filming us, shake hands. How you doing? How you doing? They need to, we always set up, Jorden, right? One's going to be a wide angle camera and the other guy in that camera is going to be a medium or tight. And they're going to hold those compositions. Now you may say, well, I don't have 2 people. That's fine. So shoot wide or medium so that you can get all these angles, but don't be zooming in, zooming out, wobbling here, wobbling there. Hold steady and trust your medium to wide composition. Yeah. If you're involved in post-production, you can kind of punch in or scale into these. If you want a little bit tighter look at times, shoot a medium or wide, hold the shots, hold the compositions, and don't be jumping all around.
That's right up there with me as well too, because spending time in this seat a lot, here in the office, post, cutting episodes or whatever it may be. It's crazy how much you come across that, and you just wonder, like, why did that person zoom in? I mean, what was the reasoning for that? As a cameraman myself, I'm trying to think, well, how come that cameraman did that? Like, or field producer did that. Be confident. Be confident in what you're shooting. Trust what you're shooting. If you know your settings and everything, and you're confident that your camera's set up, trust that. Trust your eye. Trust the moment, and rock it. And if it's not, I don't think there is anything out there that is perfect. But be confident in what you're doing and work hard at it. And I think it's going to be great at the end of it, instead of, like you said, just this back and forth and this and that.
And I feel like that is a lot of inexperienced individuals. That is part of the issue in their learning curve early on, is that they're not confident in what they're shooting. So that's why they're always trying to change that composition or change the focal length or whatever to make it better, rather than just saying, I think this looks good, let me shoot it. And the more you do that, the more you'll be able to critique yourself later on. I think maybe that's the tip here. Don't critique yourself in the moment.
Right.
Critique yourself later on when you're watching it over, because critiquing in the moment is going to cause a lot more, unusable content.
Yeah.
Basically. So,
and just a side tip off of that, just because we used interviews or jumping on the truck or whatever it may be, don't shoot at an f2.8. Don't shoot at the lowest aperture that you can. Bump up your aperture a little bit, because your focus, length is key. If you're shooting at an f2.8, I mean, we're talking sometimes, that much can only be in focus. If you're out, you're out. And I know we're going to talk about this, but that is one thing you cannot fix. So shoot at a bigger aperture when you're shooting interviews, because it's super crucial, making sure that, and especially if you are that single guy, you're the only one capturing that, you're going to want to make sure that you're shooting at a bigger aperture. And
for those of you shooting in auto, that's not something you're necessarily going to have to worry about. but those the shooting manual, and you know what Jordan's talking about. Shoot that smaller aperture, right? That larger number. Shoot something more along the lines of an f7 or an f5.6, even on a lot of these lenses, depending on your focal length. But number 3, Jordan. Or did you have more?
Well, for my number 2.
That's right. Number 2. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's very similar to yours, and you're talking about holding a shot, making sure you capture the composition and everything for a long enough period of time. For me, it's when you're in the moment, and let's just say you're freehanding it or even on a tripod or whatever it is, not having shaky footage. Sometimes you have to let go. If you are on a tripod or on a tree arm or whatever it may be, take your hand off of it. Make sure that your fluid head is locked and is in a smooth position where if you have to move it, it's not jerky. It's not jerky footage. I've seen a lot of, let's just, YouTube videos where the camera, you can just tell the camera guy's just got that camera all over, and it's super distracting and it just takes away from the quality of the footage, especially if let's just say you got a big bull elk out there and you're excited. And this is 2 for me. I remember that one time we were in Montana and we had all those elk coming up the canyon, and that bull stepped out on the other side of the pines. And I remember telling you after all that happened, I said, I don't know how good the footage is because I lost my shit because I was so jacked up and I forgot to let go of the camera. And then it's just sitting there just going like that.
Turns out I lost mine too because I shot over his back. So we were on the same page, brother.
So
I remember it well.
And it's trying
stability.
Exactly. So, but my number 3 is lack of footage. I sometimes, I'll get lazy or see, or like, we didn't see nothing today, and you come back to camp and you're dumping footage and you only got 5 clips. It's like, what do you like? There's other things to shoot. What's on the deliverables list? To take a half an hour, go shoot a scene, whatever it may be, because that's where, as a field producer, not a cameraman, you have to be thinking outside the box. You have to utilize your time while you're out in the field, because that scene may come in perfect hand for, let's just say, Vortex calls and says, hey, we got this short film coming up or whatever it may be. Do you have any content that will fit this? And you're like, oh man, yes, we absolutely do. And it's because you utilized your time well out in the field. You should never come back to camp with 5 clips or 3 clips. No. Like there's so much.
Even if nothing went on.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Like
no animals, no encounters, no nothing. You should still not come back with 2 or 3 clips.
Yeah. So
I think, Jordan, if I may, that's not just, just general stuff. I think when you've got that shot list or punch list of let's say cutaways and area reference shots, let's say I've got a really good example. I'll tell you what I'll use for this. This is perfect. When you're filming someone, whether it be a tree stand or ground blind, doesn't matter what species, getting those area reference shots, right? Those wider pan shots of your area and your setups and things like that. You might say, well, I got that yesterday and it's the same weather today. Why do I need to get it again? Here's a great example. And I just saw this a day or 2 ago. It's funny. Briella, my daughter, looks at me and she goes, so Daddy, so when can we go hunting again? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, honey, coming up. And when Daddy gets back from September, from elk hunting, we can go hunting again in October. And she was like, are we going to do another episode? And I'm like, nice. Yeah. So she goes, when was the last episode? So I brought up the turkey episode from this past season, right? Yep. Chapter 11. It was from this past season. And I challenge you guys, go back and look at this, okay? Because this is what I had to do. Now, if you guys recall, if you've not seen the episode, I'll fill you in. My wife filmed it because it was during COVID. Mm-hmm. My wife's not a cameraman, right? Like she's never really touched a professional camera in her life until COVID and that hunt. So she's filming it. The job was, when the turkey comes out, honey, press record, do your best to get in focus, film it all the way in. That was her job. A couple times she was practicing and getting some shots, right? Now, I never coached her. I didn't want it to be about that. Yeah. So the one of the earlier days, I think it was the day before, she had got a wide shot of my decoys out there, a hen and a jake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the day of the kill, the next day, same morning, weather-wise, everything, same, we're hunting the same bird. She did not get those shots.
Yeah.
I didn't coach her or tell her to. But this, for you guys at home listening or wherever you may be listening to this, this is why every day you got to get that punch list.
Yeah.
So she didn't get those shots. But in my interview, I talk about how what we've done differently today is we've moved our blind up 100 yards. And because that bird came out the day before and he didn't like my Jake decoy, I've pulled the Jake decoy from the set. And now I just have a lone hen out there. Well, hopefully it works.
Yeah.
What does that bird do? Steps out, sees the hen, works all the way in, and I shoot him. But the only cutaway shot I had to use for that had a Jake in it.
Yeah.
And it aired that way. It's the only cutaways I had for that interview, and I had to break up the interview. So if you go watch that, you will hear me talk about how I've pulled the Jake from my decoy set, and the shot you see has the Jake in it. So even become one, all right, is going to, I don't want to say mess up, but these things are going to happen. So your job is to do your best to get enough content to where each and every day to where you don't have to do that. So
yeah.
It's
a great, I remember watching the episode and thinking, he said only one and there's two in the frame.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's because I didn't have the content.
Exactly.
My wife was filming. Now, Jorden, if you had, you would have gotten 10 B-roll shots or area reference shots for me to use there. But anyway, sorry. That's just something I literally 2 days ago had come across. And it's a great example as to why you need to get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that was, that's, yeah. That was,
and you know what? That falls right in line with my number 3. I don't even think we have to do my number 3 because it's, another pet peeve of mine is putting off shooting a specific shot or a specific sequence for later. The people that say, well, we can get that tomorrow.
Mm-mm.
There's 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't do that. Right. And then some are so unexpected, that you don't even realize it until that next day. I know one time this past spring, we were like, well, we'll shoot that scene tomorrow. And then next thing you know, hi, Amy. Good morning.
Yeah, there's my wife. She's looking for the keys.
Good morning.
They're in my pants.
Have a good day, Amy.
He said, have a good day.
I
was like, I thought I heard that sneak open.
But anyway, we said, oh, we'll get that scene tomorrow. But then that night we had a cloudy night. I forget what we were going to shoot. It was a night scene. We had a cloudy night. And then the next day when we wanted to go shoot that scene, we had crystal clear sky. So we wanted to go shoot star lapses. So then next thing you know, we didn't shoot the scene again and it got pushed off. So don't put these things off. So we don't even need to do my number 3. I think that's enough. I mean, don't put things off.
Just another private example, night lapses. I know this is a big one. Watch the weather. And if you're like, hey, I only got one night to get a night lapse, you better get it. Cause you don't get, so do your thing.
Don't put things off.
Exactly.
Make sure you have a written list and stick to that list. Don't feel like, like you said, you don't have enough content, not having enough content. Don't feel like, I got some of that yesterday. I don't need to get it today. Get it again today.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 4. What do you got?
Dude, this is probably, I know it's number 4 on my list, but this is probably my number 1.
Okay.
And that's exposure adjustment. It doesn't matter if someone's shooting an interview or out in the field. Again, this is going back to not being confident with your settings or in the moment that you're in. And what I mean by exposure adjustment is if you're watching someone's video and you see the exposure change, it's like a someone is either hitting the shutter button or the aperture button on their camera and is changing the exposure. Have I been guilty for it? Absolutely.
Just for those that don't know, exposure is the brightness and the darkness of the video. Actually, we can see it happening in Jordan's computer right now because it's auto exposures. when he goes away from the lens, it gets darker and it comes. So that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Just to clarify for those that don't know, but go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah. But it's yes, you can cut it out and you can put a cutaway, but like, for instance, if you're shooting an interview and whoever in the group has got, they're saying something super, relatable to what the situation is. And you don't want to put a cutaway because it would take away from that moment. And there you are adjusting the exposure.
Right.
That lessens the quality of the video. It's just, it's not appealing to the eye. It messes with the viewer's eye. So try to refrain from adjusting the exposure, because again, just trust that situation. Know that in post-production, unless you're super blown out or super underexposed where it's really dark, and you're like, hey, my camera's not set up. Tell everyone in that group, or tell your hunter or whatever it may be, just give me 1 second. Just
hold tight. Yeah.
Hold tight. And obviously that 1 second is going to turn into 10 or 15, whatever it may be. But then your camera will be set correctly and you're going to be able to nail that situation or that moment, because don't be afraid to say something, because it is your job to capture those moments as to the best of your ability. And if you can make that little adjustment, it's going to improve overall. And those people are going to respect you because you said something, and you're going to see the end result, and it's going to be a better result.
Yep. Yeah, man. Love it. And I can see why that's your number one. I see it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I've seen it way too often, and you see it a lot in professionals still today. So, my number one.
Oh, nice.
My number 4, but my number 1.
I love this that we did this.
So it's kind of falling in line. Yeah. Focus. Missing focus in a controlled setting. So what is that? I'm gonna be just keep it simple and say specifically during interviews, whether it's an interview in a tree, like I'm out here in Ohio, it's November 7th, I'm super pumped to be here, or you're in a turkey blind, or you're on a mountainside, maybe you're in an actual studio interview setting, whatever that case may be, when it is super controlled and you have all the time in the world, there's no wild animals or weather going to mess with you. You should not miss focus.
Right.
Period.
Right.
There's no, but Tom, what about it? No.
Right.
You should not miss focus. And will it ever happen to you, even though I'm looking you in the eye and saying you should not do it? Yes. Everybody makes a mistake or is slightly off here and there every once in a while. I'm not saying you're never going to have it happen to you. I'm saying you should make damn certain that it doesn't each and every time. It shouldn't be that out of 10 times of shooting an interview, you're out of focus 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just shouldn't be the case. You have all the time in the world. You're the one that's going to tell that subject, okay, I'm good. You can go in 3, 2, 1, or a 5, 4, 3, whatever that countdown may be. You're the one that's going to tell them when you're ready.
Yeah.
So you should check focus once, twice, and maybe even 3 times before you press that record button and give that countdown for that subject to start talking.
And there's multiple ways to check that focus. There's peaking, there's the focus assist, there's expanded focus and focus assist, pretty much the same thing. But there's ways to check that.
You need to do it.
So let me ask you this, Tom. So let's just say you're running the camera and you are interviewing a guy in the tree stand. And
if I'm running the camera nowadays,
that's why they got those big screens on the red. But let's just say you're interviewing Nick, and then also, so 2 examples here. If Nick's not a guy that's going to be constantly looking around and moving like yourself.
Yep.
That's going to be, looking around in and out. So those 2 types of characters, what kind of tips would you give someone to help them keep that focus on the eyes?
Sure. So first and foremost, we're talking about manual focus here. We're not talking about auto, not suggesting running autofocus in these situations at all. Learn how to run that manual focus ring. Mm-hmm. If you're not familiar already, understand what peaking is, focus assist, all this stuff. But generally speaking, for those that are aware, we're going to set that semi-wide aperture, right? So we get a little bit of depth in our focal range there. Number 1. Number 2, you do have two different individuals. And me and Nick are great examples of this. I am very animated. I am all over the place. I know this. Nick is not. First and foremost, the eyes should be your focal point. Okay. So you should make sure that that individual's eyes are in focus. Now, eyes and mouth, if you look at a side profile, your eyes and your mouth are very similar in that same plane, right? So if an individual's got a mustache, a beard, goatee, whatever it may be, you can also look at that. Hair follicles, things like that are going to be a good thing to be able to pull focus in. Eyebrows, eyelashes, these are the things that you can look at, the peaking to pull that focus. Making sure you have depth is important for that animated individual like myself. If I slide forward or backwards, when I move out of that focal range, if I'm super shallow, I move out of that focal range. Next, you know, my eyes are out of focus. So making sure you have enough focal depth there. Yep. And for you guys shooting in auto, for the most part in auto exposures, you're going to have that focal depth. So you're probably going to be okay, unless you're in real low light scenarios. Can't teach all this stuff on this podcast. It's more of just awareness.
Yep.
But so focal depth, making sure I've got my eyes in focus, and then trying to just coach that individual a little bit. If they are animated like me, just giving them somewhat restrictions. Say, hey, don't go past this or go past this point. So they know they can feel comfortable, but they know they can't get too drastic in their motions, right? Yeah. Someone like Nick, you won't have to coach as much in that regard, but just period, making sure they're in focus. I mean, peaking, focus, assist, focal depth.
Yep.
You're going to be fine. Yeah.
That's right.
100%. And don't shoot it in super low light settings when possible. Let that natural light be available before you shoot these things, if possible.
Yep.
So that's my number 4, my number 1. Focus, right. Man. Can't fix it, and can't fix it in post, and you're in control of it. So you shouldn't really be messing it up very, very often. So.
Yep. No, that was a great number 4 to 1. So.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to roll into my number 5, if that's okay.
That's great, because I was just reading it and I was like, this is a good one. I like this one.
Okay. My number 5, and we don't even have to go into this in depth. It's just kind of playing off of these few that we've already talked about, is just continuing to pay close attention to all of those details, all of those basics. And I hate to call them basics, because some might be going, I don't even know what the hell you were just talking about there. But at the end of the day, becoming a semi-professional or professional at this, whether it's a hobby or not, the basics is the foundation of this stuff. It's not capturing that animal on film or getting the kill shot. It's nailing the technical basics each and every time that are going to be the foundation of your work being considered professional, period. Do not fast forward the basics.
I love that you use foundation, because that is what it is. Love that you used it, because if you don't have your foundation, you
can shoot the most eye candy shot in the world, right? You could shoot a sunset on a mountain with fog laying in a valley and mist coming up, and it could be an eagle flying across the valley, and you might go, whoa.
Yeah. Most
epic shot in the world. If it's not technically executed, it's not the most epic shot in the world. It's really probably unusable.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to the basics. Learn those basics, do your best to perfect those basics, and continue to keep basics at the top.
It's crazy that I'm glad this has worked out this way, because my number 5 is being careless with settings. And what I mean by that is you're not paying attention enough. For instance, if I asked someone or saw someone go out and run a night lapse that night, and they set their camera out all night, a lot of times the white balance has changed to capture. It's a much cooler setting on that camera. Again, guilty.
We all are. If you're not, then you're lying.
Is it before you're shooting an interview that morning or whatever it may be, shooting your next scene for that next establishing morning, and you didn't change your white balance, everything that you shoot is going to be super cool because you were careless and didn't pay attention to your settings. I've develop habits now where I go through my camera and make sure my white balance is set correct. I make sure where's my ISO, where's my aperture, make sure my shutter speed's where it's supposed to be, because sometimes you shoot in high frame rate and I didn't change it back or whatever it may be, and I shoot a whole nother scene.
Right.
And the thing's in slow motion. And you're just like, what in the world? So again,
paying attention to the basics,
the foundation, and being repetitious about it, because if you're not, it's easy to forget the basics. And
I don't want to do a shameless plug here, but in all honesty, our online module for the education stuff, which is the cheapest way to get education through us. That online module, what do we call it? Full access or all access bundle.
Yep.
We go over all of this. We go over those 5 main basic functions that you must learn and perfect or understand.
Yep.
And that you must never forget about. And white balance is on there. ISO or Dane is on there. And so all this stuff, call it a constant reference if you want to, if you are a member of that or not.
Yeah.
That is a great way for you to have that sucker in your pocket. So in your early stages of learning, you're not forgetting these things, because that is the foundation. Not to be cheesy and use it again, but it is. We've seen semi-professionals still shooting for TV shows today that you watch their work and you're going, man, they're so good. They're getting all this content they need to get. They're composing right. And they're doing that, but they're forgetting some of the basics. And technically they're missing a lot of shots because they're not paying attention to those. So we can talk about this for days. I'm telling you. So here's what we're going to do. That was my number 5. Did you do your number 5?
I did. And that was it there. That just, being careless with settings. So it tied in super well with yours. So,
awesome. Well, I know we're going to move over to positives.
That's right.
I know we're going to move over to positives, but I think it's a great time for us to go to commercial break, because this guy is over 40 and I've had coffee and water and I got to pee. I'll be back.
Hey guys, Nick and Tom from Become One and Film the Hunt. With each season, we are looking to up our game in production quality, and this year, we chose to make the switch to Canon. From cameras to lenses, they are performing when and where we need them to. From pressing that record button to snapping the shutter, we can trust that the image quality will be second to none. And when it comes to making the purchase, we trust our friends at Bedford Camera and Video in both their knowledge and ability to get us what we need when we need it.
So since we're back from commercial break, and we, obviously want to thank the guys at Bedfords. And we mentioned in a podcast, I think it was the last one, because Luke was on it. Luke's going to be with us, in Montana. Yeah. But if you have any last minute gear you need or questions you got to ask about gear, give Luke a call, Austin a call. Their numbers are posted in the description below this podcast. If not, we'll have it on the YouTube comment section, a link to bedfords.com, where so you contact those guys. That's for sure. They love it so much. They want to help you. That's what we love about Bedfords. They are there to help and want to see people succeed. So
yeah, for sure. Those are their direct contacts too. You're not going to get, a receptionist answering the phone. You're getting their direct cell phone numbers.
That's right. And since we are going into elk season at the end of this YouTube video, because obviously we're going to put this on YouTube, but if you're listening to this on Apple iTunes or Spotify, we're going to have the Old Bull trailer play after today's virtual podcast. So if you want to see the Old Bull trailer, that's going to be at the end of this. It's going to get you jacked up. It's a film that we're all very proud of. It was a great moment. It's a great story. So check that out. And if you want to see the full film, head over to MOTV. Hopefully you're a subscriber to that, because you'll be able to watch it on that. So.
Yeah. And if those of you that are saying, what is MOTV? It is an online, it's a Sportsman channel owned, and it's online streaming outdoor content. So all of the shows that you would watch on Sportsman and Outdoor channel, they're older seasons, nothing super current, but it's usually only 1-year-old content, and more of any one of these shows you want to watch. And you would specifically have to go to the Become One page, and then look under the special tab. And that's where the Old Bull full feature film is listed there. So we just saw an exposure change.
I did too. But if you are going to go to MOTV, obviously you just, I mean, you can watch all the episodes there, you know, and then also the YouTube page. So dude, positives. We've thrown
Positives.
a lot of information at everyone right now.
Yeah, I think we have, but all really good stuff, man.
Yeah.
All really good stuff.
Yeah, the exposure.
I know you're getting it big time. See, don't do that, people. Don't do that. So anyway, I'd like to start it off.
Yes.
And I love this stuff because a lot of it comes about this time of year. Like when we're looking at getting, you know, people ready for the season, whether they're people that we've worked with for years, take Jorden out of the equation. He's like kind of like a fixed deal, but like working with somebody that we've worked with, you know, each and every year on one or two projects, say like a guy like Frenchie's a great example. Frenchie always works with us on a few trips a year. Or it may be a new guy. This is going to be a recommendation for those looking for tips and recommendations, but it's also going to be props to those that have done it here recently. And here's what it is. I wrote down that I love when a cameraman or a new producer, or I shouldn't say new or old producer, does the necessary research prior to a trip. So what does this mean? I'll give you a couple examples. This could mean researching the area that you're going with someone. Okay. So if you're going on a trip with us to Montana, I love it when a cameraman takes it upon themselves to research that area, call us, get information about the hunt, what we're hunting, what the hunting is going to be like, this place that we're staying, all this, send them a waypoint on OnX, all this stuff, because I know that they're not just worried about pressing that record button. They're worried about being the best help that they can possibly be on that trip for getting content and for knowing what they're getting themselves into. And then it also means for someone, great example, you're coming on a trip with us and you've never ran a Canon R6 before or, a Red or whatever. Let's just use the Canon R6 for example here. Maybe you're a Sony user, but you're saying, well, I'm going to become one that use Canon R6. We had this situation just recently with one of our past students from this summer that's going to come do a trip with us in October. He called us and said, his name's Chris Hayes, by the way. Chris, if you're listening, this props is to you. He called us and said, hey, I know I'm coming with you guys late October. I want to rent an R6 for a week or two prior to coming out there. So I'm familiar with it before coming out to you. Yeah. We would never ask anybody to do that.
Right.
So props to him for doing that research and knowing I want to be the best, or approaching that is I want to be the best that I can be for those guys when I get there. So he's going to take it upon himself to rent that. So he asked where I can get it, who should I get in touch with, and all this. That is a huge positive as an individual. Those two things, researching a trip, researching, knowing the gear you're going to be running, doing your best, pre-planning to make sure that you can be the best that you can be while you're out there. And here's one more thing. If you're going to work with a show that you've never worked with before and you've not watched their content.
Oh, this is big.
Go watch their content before you go film for them. Go watch anything you can watch, YouTube videos, go watch their show if it's currently airing. Yeah. Go email them, call them and say, hey, send me a bunch of links. Show me examples of how you want me to shoot your style.
Yeah.
Do that. We've gotten, and why are we stressing this? We've gotten feedback from people that have said such and such individual came out and it was halfway through the trip before I said, man, we got to do this, and that. Have you ever watched anything we've done? And they're like, no, I've not. Yeah. You should never go on a trip without being familiar with the style and the work that show or that whoever it is hiring you wants to turn out. Research it.
Remember Jared Scheffler mentioned that when we had him on the podcast at the Great American Outdoor
Show? Is that who it was?
Yeah.
I knew I had heard it from someone that, okay, you're right. It was Jared. Yeah. He's like, he hadn't even watched one thing that we ever produced. And he was halfway through a trip with us. Like that is a humongous no-no.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're going to go a step, for us, I know we're going to take it a step ahead or a step beyond that. We're going to give you examples. We're going to provide that. But if you can beat that individual to that and say, hey, I'd like to be able to familiarize myself, then you've already got a leg up because you've taken the initiative to tell that producer, I want to be the best I can be.
Right.
So be the person.
Yeah. No, man, that was I love how this is working out, because my first positive is when someone goes above and beyond, and that's
Yeah.
a prime example. Another prime example for me is, it's more than just capturing content when you're on these trips. It's excuse me, the coffee. That's my third cup of coffee, by the way, this morning. So it's starting to.
If I do a third, I'll pee 2 more times before this is over.
But it's, hey, what can I do to help make dinner? Or what can I do to, can I do the dishes? Or, sometimes don't even ask. Like, hey, Tommy, I got it tonight. You kick back and relax, or whatever it may be. Just go above and beyond, because when you're there, even if you are a freelancer, you are part of that team. And if you want a good reputation in this industry, be a part of the team, and work hard and go above and beyond, because you're going to get rewarded for it. It's just a natural thing when people are going to realize it.
And the reward may be a callback.
Yeah.
The reward might be you just landed yourself another job for doing those things. Exactly. Yeah. And Jorden, I'm happy about this, but you just took my number 4. So that's great. My number 4 was that help outside of the production work. If you're hired or you're going along for experience, it doesn't really matter. You're there to produce content, but doing these things that Jordan's talking about is what's going to make that phone ring again. It's going to make them say, gosh, that individual did their job, and they were so helpful around camp. They're a pleasure to be around. It's not this lump on a log, sitting there when they're not taking a picture or video and just sitting on the couch scrolling, social media or something. Yeah. So don't get us started on that. Awesome. That was a good one.
Yeah. So my number 2 is when someone is down in the dumps, be that guy that's going to bring that person up. Be that cheerleader for that person, because whether if you are new to this or a veteran at this, you're going to go on trips that are going to get really tough, and times are going to get stressful, and tension may build, or whatever it may be the cheerleader in the group, because not only is it going to help yourself, but it's going to help the group as well too, because the last thing you want to do is get towards the end of the trip and everyone's just pissed off at each other, and it's going to be a long drive home, so it's just like, just work together and keep each other up, because it's going to make the overall experience. And I know I love doing this, so I love being the cheerleader.
You're good at this. I'm laughing about over here. I'm laughing about, well, your left and right is good.
Oh yeah. But no, even Brian Lemke was a prime example of this. I mean, Brian, I worked with him on the old Bull film as capturing the content. The guy was always positive, because there was very tense situations. We were in, tough situations to work in, and Brian did a great job. I've worked with other guys. It's just being positive helps the atmosphere, continue to be upbeat. So, yeah. Yeah.
And you're very good at it. So thank you.
I try to be.
You are.
I got to keep you up and down.
9.5. 9.5 out of 10 times. I've seen the half, but 9.5 out of 10 times, you are great at that. I've seen you go the other way.
Yeah.
Very few. Yeah. Jorden doesn't like to lose, by the way, which neither do I. Jorden does not like to lose.
Yeah.
The left and right is good. I got to tell it real quick because we kind of teased it, but real quick, I'll just kind of tell you about that. So I missed a bull in Montana, shot right over his back. Matter of fact, it's that one you were talking about earlier. Got back to camp, and I was just down in the dumps, and I'm trying to shoot my bow, and I launched I don't know if it was first or second arrow, whatever, but 2 feet over the target, just launched it. And it was dead in line with that muzzle. Just 2 feet high. And Jordan's back behind me. He's like, all right, man. All right. Well, your left and right is good.
Yeah. Well, then you remember, and I think we found that arrow, and then you missed it again. And then we couldn't find your arrow, and I'm back there just a little bit, and I find it. And I remember looking oh, you standing about right there. And I was like, found your arrow, and your left and right was good. And there was that awkward moment of silence. Like, did he just really say that? And then everyone started laughing.
Then we just started laughing because it was freaking funny.
Yeah.
It was just funny because it wasn't like I just skimmed the target. I was missing these things. And, you know, it turned out I shot a foot over that bull's back. So I missed my mark by 2+ feet on that bull. And then I get back and and I don't remember what I was doing. If it was the bow, I don't even remember. This was 4 or 5 years ago, probably 5 years ago. And nonetheless, Jorden, you left and right is good, Tom. Oh God, it was funny. Anyway. Be positive, be a cheerleader. I love that one, Jorden. Like I said, honestly, thank you for being one. My number 2, when working with another producer, always tag along, even if it's just for the experience. So here's the example I'll give, and it's really, I'll leave this example on the table. You take it for what you want from there. If you are with another producer and you're on a trip, or even if, you know, you're in a camp where you're the only producer for this individual, but there's other cameramen in this camp doing their thing. When the others are out shooting time lapses or shooting B-roll or doing their thing, ask if it's okay if you just tag along. Don't be that guy that just, well, they're doing their thing, I'm just going to sit here. And again, I'll use this example.
Oh man.
On your phone or doing whatever. You got to call home to the family or whatever, that's fine. But don't you want to learn? Don't you want the experience? And the experience isn't always about you just shooting. It's about watching and absorbing what other people are doing. So if it's not your turn to go out and shoot a night lapse, who cares? Put your boots on, go out there with those individuals, make sure it's okay. Of course, say, hey, mind if I tag along? Most people are going to say for sure, and go out there and don't be the guy trying to show them your thoughts or opinions unless they ask. Just watch, soak it in, watch what they're doing. You can learn a lot by just watching. Yeah. So always be there if you want to get to this experience. So I love seeing that.
Yeah. I like that. I don't want to say it's like kind of going off of that, but it might be the opposite of what you just said. And that's challenge each other. We've done this obviously with the photo contest. But it's fun to have other creators in camp because it's mentally challenging you to be more creative. It's good. So don't take, for instance, Frenchie's fantastic at taking photos. Like the guy has an eye and is super talented. So I look at that like, man, what's Frenchie seeing? How's he looking at things? So I love working with Frenchie because he's got that creative eye. I may not have, I don't know. I just like, and Brian Lemke.
You're just critiquing yourself.
Well,
but that's good. That's the beauty of it.
I love working with creative people because it challenges me to be better.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. Don't just say, well, hey, great photo, but I'm going to go out and take the same one and make it better. That's, challenge each other in a good way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And keep it friendly.
Yeah. I flirted with it a little bit.
Jorden doesn't like to lose.
And if you're new to the podcast, welcome, and we thank you for listening. But last year we recorded a whole series when we were in, Colorado. I think it's called Colorado. And you might find some humor in it. You'll find out I really do not like to lose. So, go check that out.
Oh my God. Actually listening to Colorado right now, for those of you that are getting ready for elk season or whatever, it will be a good prime, like just to prime the pump leading up to what we're going to be doing here in 2 weeks. And, cause actually I love doing those because they're a great mixture of hunting and in-field tips and experiences. So that was super fun, man. I loved it, but what are we on? Is this your number 3 or number 4 or what are we on?
This is my number 4. And that is being appreciative. I love when people are appreciative. I've got to see it a lot. And
you sure you're on number 4?
I think so.
I didn't give my number 3 yet, but that's okay. Well, you do your number 4, then I'll go back to 3.
All right.
Keep going.
I remember my first time out west. And I remember being so thankful for that opportunity. And now being in the shoes that I'm in and being able to go back out there multiple years in a row and seeing when people come out there for the very first time and have that excitement and have that appreciation is so cool. Like it brings me back to my moments when I got to go out there for the first time. It's just, and then I've had students text me like just the appreciation that they have for everything that's for this whole industry and what they've learned and everything like that. It's just rewarding when people appreciate what they're doing and the places they get to go. You know, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that's a great one, Jorden. I think often people don't know how to express appreciation, you know. And honestly, I feel like sometimes it could be just something as simple as at the end of a trip or something, just thanking the individual that gave you that opportunity. It could be just as simple as that. Buying them dinner one night when they're supposed to be buying you dinner. You know, that maybe it cost you $100, but to you or to them, it was like, wow, like you did not have to do that. But it shows your appreciation for them. You know, maybe it's something simple as going out and buying coffees and getting, you know, it doesn't have to be big or small, showing that it could be shown in so many different ways. So, because
you have to remind yourself, not everyone gets to do what we do. And it is a dream that we live. Like you mentioned in the beginning. Yeah, we work hard for it, but it's a cool reality. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're getting a Michigan Wi-Fi thing going on.
Everyone outside is wandering back up.
My number 3, and actually this will work out because my number 4 we already did, is asking questions even when you feel confident. So let's say, you know, I guess what I don't want here is I don't want these inexperienced or, you know, fairly inexperienced producers, camera guys to just feel comfortable in shooting a scene. Like, let's say, for instance, you get a shot list from a producer, you're going on a job, it's your first job, second, 10th job. Mm-hmm. And they say, hey, you know, we want to shoot a morning scene here. You know, that's on the shot list, shoot a morning scene. Well, you might think, okay, yeah, I got that. I can, you know, when they get up in the morning, I'm going to make sure I'm running the camera and capturing them getting coffee and doing all this. Don't just have that comfort level of, I can shoot a morning scene. Go to them if it's not detailed and specific and say, hey, what specifically you think you're looking for here? Are you looking for something in the camp as we're getting ready? Or do you want something by a tailgate? Do you want, you know, coffee and eating breakfast, making coffee? Are you looking for us back at the truck getting, you know, your bow and gear on at the tailgate? Or what all specifically are you looking for? You want that to be 2 morning scenes, or get some specifics, ask the questions, even though you feel like, all right, they asked for a morning scene, I'll give it to them. They're never going to look at you and go, just get it all, man. Like, you don't have to ask that. Like, they're going to be appreciative. And actually asking this question may spur more conversation between you and the other individual or individuals. And you may come up with a great idea between all of you because of this conversation, all because you asked the question. Yeah. So don't ever be afraid.
That's yeah. I like that one, my friend. I like that one. Yeah, I see it.
Right?
Yeah, I've seen it where some are afraid and some aren't, and the results that come out of it is obviously much better when you just have to get over
and
that.
Most are afraid to ask the questions.
Yeah.
And it's just spade to spade. Most are afraid to ask the question because they are going to feel like they are inferior to the situation or to the others around them. Trust me, if you've been hired as a beginner or somebody gaining experience early on, then the individuals that hired you and the others around you know where you're at. Asking a question is only going to show them that you're wanting and willing to be better. Right. And that you are ready and that you're humble enough to say, I want to make sure I nail this for you.
Right. Yeah.
So
I like it.
Don't be afraid.
I like that. So that was your number 3?
That was my number 3. You already did 4. We don't need to do my number 4 because we already did it. So I'll just move on to my number 5, my final on the positives. And it's kind of everything that we've just discussed in these positives, right? It's all of these things combined. I personally can say that I love it when someone else in camp, whether it's another hunting show host or a friend, a buddy, an acquaintance, maybe somebody I don't know, I just met recently, it does not matter. When someone else, when others come up to me, and I know Nick would feel the same exact way about this, and they look at us, kind of give the old nudge and be like, that dude never stops, does he? Jorden is just constantly working. He's constantly going. And God, he just loves what he does, doesn't he? I've heard it time and time and time and time again. That's why it's on my list. So props to Jorden. And that should be your goal. Your goal should be to work so damn hard that others around you recognize it, and that recognize it enough to say something to the person that hired you, right? To say, man, that dude's got it going on. Like he's nailing it. He's such a good guy. He's fun to be around, and he just never stops. And that's not true, by the way. We do stop. We do take breaks, but
yes, we do.
For them to recognize that you don't is another thing. I got my cheerleader here again. What's up, baby? I'm almost done.
You might need to feed him.
Okay.
Because I don't see him like breathing like birds breathe. I see him going.
Okay. Well, you can try a little bit yourself if you want to. Okay, Daddy's got to finish up. I'll be over very soon. We've rescued a slightly injured baby bird yesterday that has feathers, so it's not super baby, but it's
Yeah.
so it's in that stage of it. It's close to being able to be okay, but yeah. So we've rescued it. We've got it. It's in a nest, and she's wanting to. Okay. Everything. See, it's 9:15. The world is waking up, and sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of my number one positive, because I feel like if I get that one, then I know the individuals with me are doing everything and going above and beyond.
In for my shoes, it's yes, it's work. Obviously, it's work, but time goes by so quick, and I enjoy it. I mean, there's plenty of times it's 11:30 at night. I'm setting a night lapse because it's like, well, yeah, I want to capture a badass night lapse. Like, it's the incentives there. Like, I want to know what it looks like in the morning. What does the sky look like while my eyes are shut for those few hours? Like, so it's, yeah, I don't know. I guess you kind of have to have that mindset of, what's it going to be? I mean, you're creating content. So if you want to be a content creator, you should have that fire inside of you.
Absolutely.
So it's working, but it's really not work. And it's fun as hell.
I think you couldn't have said it best, Jorden. When you said that you should have that fire inside of you. How many times have you heard me at the schools, kind of preach about how if you're doing this because you want to be the one in front of the camera, ultimately, you may not be the one for the job, because that's telling me that, especially early on, you don't have that fire inside of you.
Yeah.
I still have that fire inside of me for running that camera. I mean,
I love to see it when you get behind it, because you're like a little kid opening up a Christmas gift.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen often. So I really love it when I can.
Trying to get out.
Okay, you got to give Daddy a couple minutes. We'll be fine. It'll be fine. Calm down. Give me a minute. So yes, that you really and truly, the answer should be in yourself. You should know if this is for you, because if you don't have that fire that Jordan's talking about, then it isn't for you.
Yeah, it's black and white.
Yep. It isn't. What is that over top of that photo over your left shoulder? What is that?
That red thing?
What is that? Is that a little doll?
You really want to see it?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I do. What is it? Oh, it's a hat. Oh my God. I thought it was like a leg from a doll and then a hat. Molson Canadian trucker. I love it. Oh, if you ain't, I'm telling you, Northern Michigan.
That's right.
/Canadian. I love that. It looked like an arm and a leg, and then that looked like a red head, like it was some doll or something, like just peeking out like Chucky.
Yeah.
No, man. Hey, it's that time of year. I hope people took a lot from this. I'm sure some of it may have been repetitive. You know, I've said this before. There's only so much to this, and then it kind of comes back to the same basics, the same rules, the same tips.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can provide different scenarios to help drill that into you individuals time after time after time, because we do this year after year after year.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody took something from this. I'm sure you did. But I hope it makes people a little more hungry and a little better producers come this fall.
I hope so too, man. Yeah, I appreciate your time, Tom. I know you got to go save a bird. And
yeah. Yeah. And I got to get back to work. I got to edit here. we got a bunch more TV shows to produce so we can go hunting.
I know, but no, thank you, man.
I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, it was.
And hey, for those of you too, for those of you listening, if I may, before Jorden wraps it up, I know Nick was unable to, make it here with us. I know Nick's very passionate about a lot of this stuff too. He's home juggling the computer and being a dad. His wife went back to work, so he's got the baby full time, and he's got a lot going on right now. But Nick's very passionate about this stuff too. I mean, Nick and I have conversations almost daily right now, and we will throughout the season, about the producers we're using, the potential producers coming up, what we want in them, what we don't want in them, what, those in the past, those we won't use again, those that we want to use again. And Nick's very passionate about this too, and I'm sure he would agree with everything that we've chosen here, because it's the conversations that we have together, the three of us. So, so this was Nick, even though he wasn't here, this was Nick right here with us as well this morning. So
Absolutely. Well, so as if you're listening, again, like we mentioned halfway through this podcast, stick around, watch the Old Bowl trailer. You can catch that on MOTV. We're currently right now, that full featured film. And yeah, any questions or anything, don't be afraid to shoot us a DM on Instagram or email. But if you got camera gear questions, head over to bedfords.com. Reach out to Luke Braswell or Austin Pittman. They'll be able to get you fixed up with whatever you want, be able to answer those questions for you guys. And good luck this season. I think we'll be able to release, it's August 24th that we're recording this. I think we'll record one more on our way out to Colorado.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's a lot of really good podcasts that are coming up. Like I said, these are some of the best that we produce each year, because it's in the moment, a lot of stuff to learn, a lot of experiences to share. So
yeah,
I'm excited, man.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Again, don't be afraid to get out there, press that record button, and capture the moments, because once they're gone, they're gone. So it's always good to have them. Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Hi, Grandma. Hi. Where's Mommy? Where's mine, Nikki?
I think we all have those influential people in our life that change our life. Maybe not by what they teach you, but just by how they live their life. And Omi's last favor that she asked me was to take Joe on an elk hunt.
Over the hills and everywhere.
That picture of you and Omi, though.
Yeah.
She was proudest of all.